Good morning and welcome to Rosebread Homestead. Even though it's just toward the middle of June, I'm already thinking about the food that I want to have canned on our pantry shelves for the winter, particularly if the coronavirus resurfaces and we are locked down at home again and there are maybe shortages in the grocery stores. So one of the things that I have thought about that I want to get canned and ready is sweet potatoes. And that's what we're going to do today when we come right back. Here on the counter, I have some sweet potatoes that are cooked and peeled and ready to go into the jars. These are cooked and ready to peel, and I'll explain how to do that in just a moment. And then in the sink, I still have some raw ones. And I'm going to be putting the raw ones right here. These are cleaned already. And I'm going to put this in my little basket that we're going to steam these potatoes for about 15 minutes. So I put the water on the faucet just very low, so I try not to waste very much. And I'm putting them just in this basket, cleaning all the dirt, making sure that they are clean. And we are going to pre-cook these, steam them for about 15, maybe 20 minutes. And while they are going, I'm going to show you how to peel. Okay, now I had about twice this many in the first batch. So I'm not sure how many this will do, but I'm now going to just put them right over here in my pasta cooker that's already boiling. And so we're going to get that look hot until the steam starts coming out, and then we will time that for 15 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to peel these. Now this is a mixture of two different kinds of sweet potatoes, probably sweet potatoes and yams, but we don't care. I treat them the same. We just get whatever is the best buy. And I've tried to grow sweet potatoes here, and they don't grow here at all. The knife that I am using is one that I have had, I think, for about 150 years. It's very thin. The blade is very flexible, and that is exactly what I want when I'm doing sweet potatoes. So I'm going to cut the tips off, and I'm saving everything in this end of the sink so it doesn't go down the disposal, so I can put it in the compost pile. Now these have been steamed and they're still warm, but I can touch them just fine. So I like to get under, with sweet potatoes, you can sometimes get the skin to pull off just really easy after you've steamed them. But the skin isn't the whole story. Right under the skin, there is a layer of material that is a little bit yellowish, and so you want to get that off as well. If you've ever peeled sweet potatoes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You want to get down to the meat that is completely orange. So I like to do a strip all the way down, and then sometimes I can, just with my fingers, get this to peel off. Now if you can see the difference, here's the yellow stuff that's left, and here is down to the orange meat. So we're going to do what we can, getting that skin off, then we're going to go back through and get the yellow layer off. And this is a perfect knife. I have over the years tried several knives to do this, and I have found that this inexpensive little small flexible bladed knife is just about the best. Okay, now I'm going to come back and scrape and get this yellow stuff off. Here's a little bit of skin. And it often will come off in layers as well, because it is a distinct layer. Okay, that one is ready. Now I'm going to do one of the redder ones so that you can see how it's a little bit different in doing these. These are sometimes quite a bit easier than those yellower ones because I can really get the skin off of these. And you can see now the very distinct yellow layer that is left. And I just take my knife and just scrape that yellow layer right off. And now you see the true orange appearing. And that's what I want to put in my jars. And this one is quite squishy, so I'm going to rinse this when I'm done to make sure everything is off. And then these peels are a great addition to the compost pile. So it's not super easy to do sweet potatoes because of this little bit of fuss that you have to go to. But I'll tell you, having sweet potatoes on your pantry shelf is just wonderful. They're such a great winter food. They're good food any time of year, but for us it reminds us of winter, and we use these in soups and stews, and then of course for holiday meals. All right, this one is done. I'm going to do the rest of these off camera, and that should give our others time to get finished with their steaming, and then we will show you what the next step is. I finished peeling the first batch. It went much faster than I thought it was going to. So we are going to cut these and get them in the jars. Now notice that these are not done in the middle. Just the outside edge has been softened with the steaming, and that was primarily so that we could get the skins off much more easily instead of having to peel everything. So according to the USDA, sweet potatoes need to be cut in chunks, certainly not pureed, and that's how we're doing it, and we're trying to get the chunks as uniform as possible, although that is impossible to do completely. I think Jim bought about 15 pounds of these. That's what we calculated would do about 7 quarts, so we will see how close that comes. I was able to slip that little knife completely under the skins of some of these potatoes, so it was very nice. The peels went quick and fast. Well, I guess quick and fast mean the same thing. This part goes fairly quickly. We want about an inch of headspace, and I usually respect that, but not always. If you are a beginning canner, you are going to want to, for sure, follow the rules until you have plenty of experience to see how maybe you can deviate a little bit. I'll tell you one thing that I never deviate on is the processing times. Never, never, never. I follow those to the letter. But there are some things that I, over my experience of 50 years of being a canner, that I know some foods expand more than others. The reason for that headspace is because in the cooking process, as we all know, heat expands things, including food. And steam has to escape out from underneath the lid and the ring. Oh, I'll get that one later. And so we just want to take that into consideration when we are leaving headspace. So I usually leave between a ½ inch and an inch. We have about 5 more minutes before the others are complete. I'm hoping we get 7 quarts. And I have over on the stove a 10%, about 10%, a very, very light syrup solution. I used 10 cups of water and 1 cup of sugar. I like to put our sweet potatoes in that light syrup. It's hardly sweet at all, and that's just fine. You can do water. I do not put salt. We're cutting way back on our salt, so I'll wait and salt these potatoes depending on what I use them for in their final stages. I think we're going to get our 7 quarts. So that will be good. Now I am going to go ahead right now and put the syrup on these. So let me bring that over. Now I just barely brought it to a boil. Here's that piece that I dropped. I'm going to rinse it off. I think it'll fit right there. And I'm going to fill with this light syrup right up to this ridge line, which is about 1 inch. Alright, I'm going to set this aside until we get ready for it again. And I have my paper towel ready. I'm going to wipe the top. And because I was touching this part, I'm also going to wipe that as well. Sweet potatoes are sticky sweet, and I want to be sure that I get a good seal here. And I'm going to check for air bubbles. I was chastised by one of our subscribers for using a table knife to do this. And I know that companies really do like to sell their fancy little plastic air popper thingies. I have always used a table knife. My mother used a table knife long before they made those fancy things. And the reasoning given to use the plastic is so that you don't score the inside of the jar and break it. Well, I'm going to fill a little bit more with syrup. But I want you to know, in more than 50 years of canning, I've never broken a jar like that. So a lot of times we just need to use good common sense about things. And put the lids on these. And we have the canner already warming up outside, but I'm not going to put these out there until we have all of them out there ready to go. And finger tight means just that, just as tight as, almost as tight as you can get it with your fingers. And remembering that steam is going to have to escape out from under during the cooking process, so that the jar doesn't explode, and so that's why you don't want to tighten it down so tight. Now, sweet potatoes are, of course, low acid, so we will be pressure canning these, and the pressure canner is out there warming up. So I'll be back when we're ready. So these have finished processing for 20 minutes, and the great thing is that I don't need hot pads with these handles because they're so far apart. They're designed very nicely that way. So here we are. These are nice and steamed. And I'm going to cool these down a bit. And I am going to let these cool for just a few minutes before I touch them. So let's review the process from the beginning. From the bag from the store, we took the sweet potatoes out, we scrubbed them and put them in this basket. We steamed them for 20 minutes and we brought them back, and then you saw how we peeled them. So we peeled them and then put them in this bowl, and from this bowl we cut them up and put them in the jars. And that's all there is to it. And so I'm going to do the rest of this off camera because now you've seen the entire process from start to jar. When we get all the jars finished, then I'll meet you out at the canner. Everything is all finished and ready to go. 7 quarts ready to go into the canner. Jim looked at his receipt and he bought 15.5 pounds of potatoes, and this is how many we have left. So I imagine about 12 pounds would have done these, and so these will not go to waste. He's going to pick up some more for me sometime over the weekend, and then next week I'm just going to put these in the refrigerator for now, and then when I get the other ones I will process those, use these, and we'll do a whole nother batch next week. So these are ready for the canner. I'll see you out there. All right, I have 3 more to put in. I already have 4 in, so it's not so hot that I cannot touch these with my bare hands, so I'm just doing it. So we've got 7 in the canner, and the water is a little bubbling. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on. Now, you'll notice that this is a dial gauge canner, and so it measures the pressure precisely. We keep it between 13 and 15 pounds per square inch because we're at 5,000 feet. So you need to be sure and look up the tables online about how much pressure you need. We don't, of course, put the weight on our canner until we have had this vent steam for about 10 straight minutes. And by venting steam, I mean a full head of steam pouring out of this vent. We want to replace all of the air inside the canner with steam. And then we will put the weight on and then bring it up to 13 pounds of pressure. Then we will process for 90 minutes, at which time we will turn the heat off and let it cool naturally for about another 30 minutes, 45 minutes, until the pressure has dropped on its own to 0 and it is safe to open the lid, and that is when we'll be back. So we will see you probably in about 2.5 hours or so. Thank goodness for this little enclosure that Jim built for us as a windbreak. We keep clips here because sometimes we have to add an extra quilt to keep the wind off, but today we didn't have to, even though it's pretty breezy. So here comes my favorite part, and that is opening up the pressure cooker. Notice that it's down to 0, and the airlock is still up, so I want to just tap that, and it stayed down, so we're good. So I'm going to very carefully open this away from my face. And it looks like we have success. So here we are. Wow, beautiful. Still boiling. That's natural. There's one popping. These will be fabulous to have on our pantry shelf. There's another one popping. So here we are. 7 quarts of sweet potatoes ready for our pantry shelf. And we will let these cool out here until they are completely cool. Then I'll take them in the house and wash the jars off, and then we'll put them out in the pantry. And then this coming week we'll use the rest of those cooked sweet potatoes, add some more to it, and make another batch. So we'll have a total of 14 quarts, and that will be plenty to get us through the winter. So this was sweet potatoes. Not too bad of a process to get such a delicious food preserved for emergency preparedness, just in case, who knows what. So thanks for being with us, and we will see you next time.